Today we are going to chat a little bit about what it takes to get to $15,000 a month consistently in a training business. Now, I'm going to talk about this probably through the lens primarily of offline businesses, but almost everything that I would say would hold true for online. And I will certainly give you the caveats and that sort of stuff as we go. Because I know that some of you guys have primarily or even exclusively online businesses. And what's funny about this is fundamentally it's still a business, serving clients, helping people go from where they are to where they want to be. And so the mechanics of it, like the framework still stays the same. You just have to tweak some things, understanding how both people operate online and maybe where you're going to find the people that you want to serve. So tell you what, we are going to get into it. I know we've got plenty of people. I've got a lot of ground to cover today. I tend to do that to myself on some of these Zooms where I back myself into a corner and I try to give you a day's worth of workshop in an hour-long Zoom. So when I think of a business that is under $15,000 a month, whether it's in a recurring revenue or whether model or whether they have a different payment collection model, I'm going to tell you that there's plenty of variety in that type of business, right? Like there are people that are solopreneurs in mid-sized markets that are absolutely thriving with that amount of revenue. And then there are people that have group-centric businesses in major metropolitan markets and can't pay themselves, even though they're generating, $180,000 annually in their business because rent's so high, the cost of help is so high, that sort of thing. And so I'm going to talk about this through the lens of if you get to 15, you're doing fine, right? Like it's not maybe where you ultimately aspire to be, but you're doing fine. And so if you've heard me talk about building a successful business, it basically, like I have to simplify things in my mind. There's like connect, convert, coach. And then ultimately we want to scale, but scale in my way of thinking happens it starts to happen beyond that kind of threshold. So connect, convert, coach is really the way that I start to categorize or simplify my thinking. And if you get the right pieces in order in these three kind of buckets, if you will, it makes everything super simple. I'm not saying easy because running a business is not easy. I don't care if you're at $5,000 a month or if you're at $500,000 a month, and I've done both, and it's never been easy, but it sometimes becomes very simple. And, but at Connect, we've got to think about who we want to serve. And really, like you'll hear people talk about like avatar and that sort of stuff. Like, I don't think about that type of person. I think about like a real human being that has real problems and full plates, and why aren't they doing things with us, or what have they tried in the past? Like, I want to know the person, right? Because all the people who are hanging out with us here, whether they're watching on Facebook or whether they're watching on Zoom, you're real, right? Like you're a real person with real challenges that you're trying to figure out how to do this stuff, not this hypothetical, hey, they've got, they live in this area and they're married with 2.3 kids and they live in suburbia and they have one problem in the whole world and it's what you do. And that's not how people operate, right? Like, so we got to think about who our person really is. And typically when I think about who that person really is, it it comes from some sort of experience. If you're really early stage in this, a lot of times it's people that you have experience with, or maybe it's somebody who bears some resemblance to you in the challenges that you faced, or the things that you're excited about, or the things that you're most interested in. Or, in some cases, it may be people that you have a little bit of a track record of already helping, and you enjoy helping. So we got to think about who our person is, right? And if you know who that person is, everything else starts to take shape. But if you don't figure out who that person is, it's hard to build something great. You can build something that can be profitable for a short period of time, but if somebody doesn't truly connect with what you're doing, then they're always going to be shopping for the next shiny object, right? They're always going to be looking for the next place to land, the cheaper deal, the new business, whatever else. But if you find your person, they're going to say, man, I finally found the people that I am going to stay with, right? Like they're the right people for me. And we've all experienced that type of business somehow. Hopefully some of you awesome folks that are already clients feel that way about working with us now. But, so you got to know who your person is, and then what kind of desires do they have? What kind of problems are they trying to solve, or goals are they trying to reach? There has to be a desire for something different, and there has to be a willingness to change something to get there, right? Because you can want better, but if you're not willing to do something differently, then you're not getting anything different. You're not getting a better outcome. So we need those prerequisites met. But if we have the who, the desire, the willingness to change, now we just need to craft a compelling offer that gets them to raise their hand and says, that's really interesting to me. That's what I want. And the compelling offer, I think, needs to have a promise, right? There has to be something that says, okay, hey, this is exciting to me. This is going to help me. It doesn't have to move them all the way to the finish line, but it has to move them towards where they want to go. So you guys, do me a favor. In the chat, humor me here. Have you seen this thing that we just put out recently, this business growth sprint offer? Just put Y or N, yes or no. Whether or not you saw the name, is like, hey, we promise you $4,000 a month of recurring revenue, or $20,000 in total new sales. All right, so in that kind of lens, like that's an offer, that's a promise. We're giving somebody a result, and then we got to figure out the how in a way that helps them see themselves being able to get there, right? We got to be able to address the reasons that they might not believe that they could get there, and we've got to kind of almost like reverse engineer this roadmap. They see this destination, and they've got to say, no, I can actually see how I could get to that place by doing this program. And so in our case, we came up with the components that we felt like would give us the highest probability of getting somebody to where they wanted to go. Well, you have to do that too. You have to be able to overcome all those objections that people have, whether they're voiced or not voiced, right? Because some objections, money, time, those things are voiced, right? But the things that aren't voiced are, hey, you know what? I don't have any confidence in myself. I don't think I'm going to be able to stick to this. I'm going to fail again. I've failed every time in the past. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to be kind of snickering when I say I'm starting this new program, because they've seen me try and fall off the wagon 2 weeks in, over and over. All those internal doubts, right? We have to be able to give them the belief, the confidence that this time is their time. And if you craft a strong offer, I don't want to say, like, sometimes people will say it's no brainer or this or that. People have to should have to make a decision like, oh, I'm willing to commit what is being asked of me. But if you come up with that strong offer and you know who your person is, you get to speak very specifically to that person. Now, if you're offline, we don't necessarily have to be hyper narrow. It's not like, hey, I work with baseball players who are left-handed and under 6 foot tall or something like that, right? Because geography narrows things for you because of proximity, right? Like people need to be able to come consistently offline. So some of your who is just, part of the filtering process is, can this person actually realistically get to my place of business with the frequency I'm asking them to? But if it's online and we don't have that constraint in place where the geography isn't a constraint, then we have to add more constraints. So it may be narrowing more as to who you serve. It may be saying, well, okay, I work with, like, maybe locally you work with athletes, online you just work with baseball players, or you just work with pitchers, or you just work with goalkeepers in soccer, or you just work with kickers in football or something, right? Because if we look at the whole landscape of Earth, there are plenty of those people, right? So we can narrow that way, and now we just need an offer that person reads and says, Morgan is talking to me, not this is just a one-size-fits-all thing, and I've got to kind of see how I fit this square peg into this round hole and make it work. So if we've got this compelling offer, now we've got to figure out, how do I get it in front of people, and how do I build enough of a relationship with somebody where I can get them into what I consider a conversion opportunity? So getting it in front of people, if you know who your people are, it's not hard to find them. People act as if lead generation is a mystery, and it should be the simplest thing in business if we're paying any attention at all, right? Because these are human beings that they're not in the witness protection program. We know where to find them, right? If we know who they are and what they're interested in, they're not like hiding under rocks. They're on social media in certain platforms where we can do things organically or paid. Offline, we can find where they are by neighborhood. We can find where they are by occupation. We can find where they are by interest. It's not tough to find people, but you have to be willing to find them. That's why I used to say in my little 3-lane thing, right? The connect, convert, coach. The first one used to be attract. And then I'm like, attract does not imply what I need it to imply. Attract means if I just stand here and wave, people will just come to me. That's not how it works. Like, I have to go get them. It's my business. It's my responsibility to go connect with new people who might be a good fit for what I have to offer. And then I need to follow up with them with what I consider a demonstration and conversion system. I got to demonstrate that I can help enough that I can get them into a conversation. And then I'm going to make this offer to them. And for the people who it makes sense to, we're going to convert them from prospect to client. And in my mind, this is where I'm different about this, I think, than most people who sell things. A closed sale implies the wrong thing. Like when you hear the word close, it's like it's closing the file on something. This is done. For me, this is just transitioning from one stage of a relationship to another stage. We go from prospect that I hope to help, and maybe I can give some advice or insight that may be able to help, to client that they're under my care and it's now my responsibility to help. So if you think about your business, that's the front end of it. So many people get so caught up in the tactical things. The tactics are easy. And if the tactics aren't easy for you, then we probably haven't done the underlying kind of foundation work, right? Like, if you know who you're looking for, then you don't have to think, well, should I master Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Snapchat and all these other things? Or should I just say, well, wait a minute, I work with busy moms who are 30 to 45, where are they? And if I'm local, then guess what? They're wherever the kids are, because that's kind of being a mom, right? Like they're at whatever the elementary and middle schools are, they're whatever the sporting events are, they're whatever the, our next door neighbor does piano lessons. Guess what? Every day there are moms parked outside waiting on their kid. So they're not hard to find if you know who you're looking for. And most of us here, question for you guys again in the chat, how many clients do you need to get to the benchmark, whether you're aspiring to be at 15K per month or you're already there and you're thinking the next benchmark, like how much gap do you need to close to be wherever you want to be by the end of the year? How many new clients do you need? Put it in the chat. I don't care if it's 5, 55, 155. How many do you need? Man, we got 25, 15, 12, 50. Perfect, right? So none of you put like 10,000. So I'm guessing if you work with busy moms and you said, I need 25 busy moms. Well, I can tell you that we held baseball practice at my house yesterday because there's this big fun field outside that you can barely see, right? And there's like a pitching machine in the garage and all this stuff. There were 6 moms at my house yesterday. Like if you work with busy moms, come by and offer them a free session, right? Offer them some sort of compelling offer to connect with them. But it's not like this daunting thing like, oh, I have to master these 3 social media platforms to get 25 humans. Come on now. It's not nearly as hard as we make it. But we got to know who our person is before we can know where to find them and then put them into this pipeline of getting them to raise their hand. We've connected with them. We've initiated a relationship that it is our responsibility to initiate as a business owner. Now we follow up. We have a demonstration and conversion system where we show them that we can actually help. And maybe we can help better than all that stuff that they've tried in the past that didn't work out the way they want. And then we have a conversation where we make the offer that is that kind of irresistible offer that for the right person who has the desire and is compelled to change, this is the thing they've been looking for. Now, if you do that for, let's see, the range has gone from about five new people to 44 new people. 44 new people. I don't know how many weeks we are into the year, but I'm guessing there are 44 weeks left in the year, roughly. I think that's pretty darn close. That's one person a week net that we need by the end of the year to say yes to our offer. That seems pretty manageable to me. I don't know about you guys, but that seems pretty manageable to me. So if we get one yes per week for the rest of the year, we have hit that benchmark. Now, I'm not telling you that you need to settle for one yes, but I'm telling you this because sometimes we overcomplicate it and we get focused on things that are just irrelevant. So, all right, so we need to create this kind of pipeline. That's the front end of building this business that is probably 15,000-ish a month. And the reason I'm using that as a benchmark is because there's a certain point where you need full-time help. You can't cobble together part-time help or contractors or whatever else. At some point, for you to grow from like 15 to 30, and in some cases for people that's 10 to 25, some people that's 20 to 40, depending on the pricing and the market and the model. But I'm using 15 as that kind of middle ground. At that point, now it's not, I need my pipeline to bring people in profitably. It's, I need systems to scale and I need people to execute the systems, right? So for this first piece, up to 15,000, we need that kind of front end. And then we got to figure out our offer. And then we got to figure out the format that we're going to coach in so we don't back ourselves into a corner and we're working 80 hours a week to operate a business. So we've kind of created our own little prison that in theory sounded good, but frankly, it's a success that makes us miserable. And I've been there, right? Like I have owned businesses that I felt like, man, what have I done? You know, I had 275 franchise locations and, you know, we had $55-ish million in franchise-wide sales. And I didn't like it at all. Like it was, I liked building it. I liked the creative building side, but there were pieces of it that were just not very fulfilling to me. And, you know, and I think that that's where you have to decide, like, what is our core program? What is, am I doing this one-on-one? Am I doing this semi-private? Am I doing it small group or large group? Those are really the 4 lanes for your, how you're going to coach, right? You got to pick. And if you're going to do one-on-one, you know, it's really easy to get a yes. And the yes is fulfilling on that first day because you got paid and you got the validation that somebody liked your offer. But then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Now I am married to serving this person at 5 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every day in perpetuity. And that may not be your ideal business. So when you're designing this stuff, you need to do it strategically so it scales, right? You need to move people into hours that you want to serve. You need to set expectations that if you're going to do semi-private training, they need to know that this is semi-private. And if you're here one-on-one today, there's probably somebody coming tomorrow with you, right? So we need to be able to have that in place as well. So if we have an offer and then a format of delivery, now you may think, well, why didn't you pick the format first? Because frankly, they don't care about the how, they care about the result. We decide the how that delivers the result. Now, I'm not going to tell you that they're completely indifferent about the how because they may have had previous experiences with the how. They may say, well, I've done large group training and I hated it. Or, you know what, I don't want one-on-one training because there's not enough energy in the room. Or I've done CrossFit or Zumba or whatever else, and it wasn't for me. So sometimes you have to figure out, well, okay, I want my how to be congruent with what my ideal client is, but your how, they're not joining for the process. We like the process. We like the nerdy exercise science stuff or the, you know, or getting a variety of certifications or learning about, you know, sleep or nutrition or whatever else. They basically say, well, wait a minute, you made me this offer where I would get this outcome. It's your job to do the how. And if you question that, like if you think, well, no, wait a minute, that's not how this works. I love the how. They should love the how. Think about the last time you went to a nice restaurant, you know, like cloth napkin type stuff, right? Well, did you go back in the kitchen and ask where the chef went to culinary school? Did you ask what utensils they used to do the cooking? I mean, we don't pay attention to that stuff. We want the result. We want the experience. Your clients want that too because you are the expert. I don't ask my accountant what software he uses. I don't ask anything about what he did for continuing education this year. I want him to help me with tax planning. I want him to allow me to confidently keep more of what I earn without ever being in trouble with the IRS. So that's what our job is. Our job is to figure out the how that we're going to get them the result they want, but it has to be a how that is palatable to them and profitable for you. Now, if we have that in place, we've got our pipeline of how we're getting people in the door, right? We connect with our ideal person. We figure out where they are. We meet them at that place. We demonstrate and convert them with our offer. And then we deliver on that promise, on that offer, with our proprietary how, right? Our system, whatever the format of the program is, it has to be, like I said, palatable to them, but it also has to be profitable for us. So palatable for them means they got to be consistent enough to do it, to deliver on the promise, right? Like you've got to make it work for them. And that means that it's probably something where there's this fine line of what would work best versus what would they actually do. And you need to be able to kind of thread that needle in the middle there. Now, if you take this approach and you do just the basic mechanics of what I said, you will not only get to $15,000 a month, but you will be creating another set of problems to solve, because you'll say, well, wait a minute, I can't stop this pipeline. I keep more people coming in because I'm actually showing up where they are. And I'm actually saying things that matter to them, not just matter to me, or not just copied so I sound like F45 or Orange Theory. And I'm making an offer that is important to this person, and I'm actually delivering on that promise. You aren't going to have any problem keeping this whole flywheel going. And so then the next set of challenges is, how do I systemize this and how do I scale it and get help? But I told you this Zoom was going to be about up to $15,000 a month. So let's kind of backtrack just a little bit and think about how you put this into action. So the first thing that we do is identify our person. If you have current clients, and most of you do, look at your favorite clients, the people that you want to train more of. Don't think about who they are today. Think about who they were when you met them, right? So if you've got 30 clients right now, think about your favorite 5. Think about who they were when you met them, because sometimes we get this mistaken kind of belief like, hey, my ideal client is this person because they're so consistent and they're this and they're that. They weren't that when you met them, right? That's why they needed you. So this is the evolved version of them. So we need to think about who they were when you met them, right? So that's a great place to start with who your ideal client is. Now, if we know this, we've got this little focus group of where do we find those people? Well, we can ask those people, well, when you're not with us, where are you? Like, what is your family involved in? Like, what neighborhoods do people live in? Where do you work? What do you do socially? What social media sites do you use? All that stuff. So now it's basically this starting point for where do we find more people like the people we love to work with. But then even beyond that, we can sit down and have coffee with each of those 5 people and ask them to introduce us to other people in their lives, or ask them, hey, I would love to get your advice on how I might meet other people like you. So maybe it doesn't put the pressure on them for a direct introduction, but they can give you a lot of insight. And so now we've got this wonderful kind of palette of different things that we get to work with to go out and start marketing. And if you have no budget, then we invest time. We go network, we do social stuff online, and we think about this through the lens of not how much reach do I get, how do I game this algorithm? It's how do I get somewhere between 5 and 44 people to connect with me and actually start a conversation with them so we can move them from prospect to client. Because that's all we need. So when somebody talks about, well, I got, 400,000 TikTok followers or whatever else, it doesn't matter. I had a call with somebody about 2 weeks ago that had 3 million fans on Instagram, and they were making less than $3,000 a month. There is not some linear correlation between social media fame and wealth. It can work, but I also know some people that don't have social media that are worth tens of millions of dollars. So again, no linear correlation. So we go and start to connect with people. We fill that pipeline. We figure out the message that we want to convey to people. We basically, I call it your hot buttons, the things that are important to you, the problems that you want to solve, the goals you want to achieve. And I make sure that the conversations I'm having with you are about that. So you can think, well, wait a minute. He gets me. He understands where I am. He understands the problems I'm trying to solve. He's painting a picture of how I can go from where I am to where I want to be. So now I start to have confidence that I can actually get there, that this isn't some pipe dream anymore, that I actually have a probable chance of getting there. And so we do that. And then we invite people, right? Like you guys have all seen me send emails out and say, hey, if you're interested, reply back and I'll get you details or we can talk. That is an invitation. That is no different than me saying, hey, Jamie, do you want to go to lunch today? She can say, no, I'm in Washington. You're stupid. That's not even possible. Or she could say, sure, where do you want to go? Right? So that's how this stuff works, right? Like some people are going to say, I'm ready. Let's have a conversation, or I'd love to learn more. Or some people may say, no, you know what? I'm not ready right now. This is not a good time for me. For example, I talked about the busy mom thing. Well, of the moms that were here yesterday, one of them has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old that are both sick. Guess what? Not a good time for her. Doesn't mean a never, it means a not right now. So, that's how this works. So we continue to follow up. That doesn't make her a tire kicker. Like some people in selling would love to tell you, well, if they don't want to do this on this 48-hour timeline, they're not serious. No, she has 2 little kids that are sick. This is not tire kicker. This is real life. This is why avatars are stupid, right? Because avatars don't account for, oh, my kid is sick, so I can't do this week. So we have to think about who those people are, and then we continue to follow up. And then guess what? Maybe next week or the week after, it's like, you know what? I'm ready. I've spent all this time taking care of other people. It's time to take care of me. And that's how this whole pipeline works. So you have different tools in your toolbox, right? You can do one-to-one networking. You guys may not understand this just yet because some people tend to have forgotten, but a lot of people forget that they're called social networks. You can actually interact with somebody and network there, not just think about posting and gaining likes and shares and follows, but actually interacting, right? So we can do that offline, we can do that online. We can reach out to businesses or organizations or influencers that are like gatekeepers to the people we want to reach. Like I used me being having our little baseball team here. Well, I'm kind of the gatekeeper to the parents and the players there. So if somebody said, hey, I would like to connect with the moms and make an offer to them of these players, could you help me, right? Like that would be a gatekeeper on a very small scale. Facebook is a gatekeeper that is happy to let you reach their audience if you pay them, right? Plenty of advertising platforms do that. They've been doing that forever. Newspaper ads, none of that's new, but there are people that reach your audience. You can reach directly through one-on-one networking or leverage networking like public speaking, or you can do something where you're essentially paying to get more volume because a gatekeeper has access to those folks. And then we can take our current clients and we can just ask them to introduce us to other people who might fit. So we've got these different mechanisms to meet people, to be introduced, to connect. Now, we demonstrate. In my world, demonstration basically comes from email. It comes from things like this. It comes from podcasts. It comes from public speaking, like going and speaking at a Perform Better or something. And in a limited way, like we do kind of low barrier to entry demonstration with like workshops. but that's how I might demonstrate that I can help somebody. And then demonstration also comes from social proof. So with me saying something along the lines of, like I mentioned the franchise thing earlier. Well, if I grew a business to $55 million franchise-wise sales, you probably, somebody who wants to grow a business might think, well, yeah, he could probably help me get to 250,000. That seems like that'd be pretty simple, right? If you have social proof of people that you have helped lose weight, alleviate pain, improve performance, if we can demonstrate that, again, that's a confidence builder. If we have people on Google, like, on Google reviews saying things about us in a positive light, now that's this endorsement, that's this social proof, it's demonstration. Now other people can say, yeah, hey, you know what? Morgan can probably help me. So that's how we demonstrate. And then we move to that invitation and just say, hey, would you be interested in this? And some people say yes, some people say not right now. And if they say yes, we talk about where they aspire to go. We talk about what they feel like needs to change or happen to get there. And then we say, well, here's how I can help. And if they want help, then we put them into the format by which we deliver the service. One-on-one, semi-private, small group, or large group, rinse and repeat. And next thing you know, we're sitting here talking about how do I scale so I can get to $40,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, because that's all it is. It's like, this is the basically the proof of concept to scale as far as you want to go. And you may say, this is enough. This fulfills all my goals and all my needs and all my wants, and that's fine. Or you may say, you know what? I'm doing a really good job with this, and now I need to make sure other people can deliver that coaching, that result, that experience on the back end. So now I have to coach that person to deliver this in the same way that I coach clients to get a result. All right, so lots of stuff. I know I've kind of talked way faster than I normally talk, because anybody's had a one-on-one conversation with me knows that I talk really deliberately. In other words, Kentucky slow. And, so that's it. Like, don't make this harder than it needs to be. When people get stuck, it is because they overcomplicate it, they chase shiny objects, or they're just not committed enough to see it through and go get their 5 to 44 more people, right? And when we say overwhelmed or confused, I get it. There are plenty of things out there that make it confusing. Plenty of people telling you to master this tactic or master that, and you don't even know what the goal is yet. Well, in my mind, the goal, that's why I ask you guys very simply, like, how many more clients do you need? That's the goal. It's not how many leads do you get. It's not how many followers or likes do you get. It's, I want a net gain of 44 clients. I want a net gain of 25 clients. I want a net gain, in some cases, even as few as 5 clients. So every kind of map that we create needs to make sure that it's leading to the desired destination, and not just assuming that if we do a bunch of stuff, it's going to arbitrarily get us there. Make sense? All right. I know I threw a bunch at you. Do you guys have any questions about your specific situation and how you can apply this concept or these ideas to your own business?
And Zach did have his hand up earlier in the call. Zach, feel free to unmute if you want to go ahead and ask your question. Otherwise, the rest of you can do the same. Feel free to unmute and ask.
Yeah, and you're welcome to put it in the chat if you don't want to ask out loud. Totally fine. I notice, like, I'm in my spinny chair and I'm just moving constantly when I'm talking here, right? So, oh well.
Hey, Pat, Seth here.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Excited to move forward with the program that you're talking about, and then got this email for this. So I was like, oh, this is a nice little extra thing. Yeah. So gatekeepers, how do we find out who those are in our community?
Well, so the first thing is we got to know who we're trying to reach, who's behind the gate. So who's your person? And I will give you some ideas, some examples.
I was just gonna go for general weight loss, like fat loss.
So let's narrow a little bit, like who are the probable people that want to lose weight? How much weight do they want to lose?
About 30 pounds, and most of my clients are either single moms or moms with multiple kids.
Okay, so if we're thinking about moms specifically there, right? Like, so gatekeepers might be schools, PTAs, social groups. It may be, church-related groups. It may be any sort of activity that the children are involved in, from sports to scouting. Those are easy kind of first glance gatekeepers for that audience, right? Because if I'm messaging, like this morning, I sent out an update for our little baseball team. I mean, it goes to the parents. I send texts to the kids like, hey, here's what we're going to do in practice tomorrow. But with any of the planning and organization stuff, it all goes to mom and dad. So, I would have access to those people. But PTAs that have to raise money have plenty of gatekeeping. And there's so many ways to reach parents that people don't think about. I'll give you an easy one, and maybe this will help you guys brainstorm a little bit. So PTAs, youth sports leagues, all of that, they're always trying to raise money, right? They'll say, hey, it's Chick-fil-A night for this elementary school, so 10% of the proceeds go here. Or would you be interested in buying an outfield sign, or this, that, or the other? For me, I can find other ways to get them money that work very simply. We've done stuff where we did a front-end offer and donated all the proceeds to the PTA for anybody who came, just the way, like if you say, hey, I'm with said elementary school, then, whatever percentage of the receipts go to that school. Well, hey, if anybody wants to join our 14-day reset, that's $49, we'll donate 100% of the proceeds to St. Patrick's Elementary School. And now we've got the PTA who's more than eager to say, well, hey, any of you moms want to join this reset? All the proceeds go here. Probably not real tough to go get, 15, 20, maybe multiples of that to join that 14-day program. And now we've got paying leads that we can follow up with, right?
Cool.
So, I mean, and honestly, I don't hear people talk about offers like that very often. But I mean, for me, I would rather go ahead and become an ally in a community that is going to be there over and over and over, right? PTAs continue to exist in perpetuity. And even when the officers of the PTA change, the PTA exists and they do a handoff. One president goes to the next. So if you are working with moms, that's a gold mine of opportunity. And it's also something that, ideally works with proximity, because you can pick, like in our world, there's a public elementary school about 2 miles up the road. There's a private elementary school, literally like a 5-minute walk, and then another one that's another mile up the road. There'd be enough moms between those 3 places that it would be it would be pretty simple for somebody to be at capacity just by serving those audiences and the percentage that you could get.
Okay.
So, any other questions? I thought that was great. That's how simple and direct this stuff can be. Any suggestions on cold call approach, local business people, entrepreneurs? what's in it for them? That's probably the first thing I would tell you, because if you're cold calling, it's about you. What are you doing for them? If you cold call and say, hey, I want to sell you something, they're probably not going to pay much attention. I will tell you the simplest way, if you're trying to serve the business owner and not the employees, is go pay for their time. Go do a session with a chiropractor, right? Like go spend some money with that person, and you now have their attention. Be a customer, patient, client, you have their attention. But if you're trying to do things where you're getting the employees, we've had plenty of success with a program called Business of the Month, where we would go and make a really compelling offer and gift certain things to all the employees of a business. And man, when I owned a health club, we would generate about 30 members a month from Business of the Month by itself. And we could kind of just go down the Chamber of Commerce one by one and run that type of program. And you're getting the owner too, right? So that's an easy thing too. Like, you have to make sure that we're leading with what's in it for them. All right. Other questions? Other questions? I like it, man. These are good.
Okay, so I'll always ask questions. You know that. When it comes down to how much you want to make, figuring out what your offer amount is. So let's say, keep it math easy, let's say $100 is our offer. And we do the math, and that means we need 100 clients per month to bring in. Does that mean we probably need a different offer? Or yes. How do we navigate? Okay. So how do you navigate finding that perfect sweet spot for your clients, but also so you're not trying to bring in 100 clients a month? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you have to think about like there's that balancing act, right? Because pricing usually is very arbitrary. A lot of times we decide the pricing, and the market didn't say that's all I will pay. It's that we said that's the ceiling. So think about it from the opposite end and say, okay, if I want to make $10,000 a month, I need 20 people at 500. I need 40 people at 250, and start to think about, is their problem big enough? Is their desire strong enough that they're willing to pay this? And I can deliver on this, and it's a good value exchange, right? Like, because I don't think it's any harder to get 40 250s than 100 100s. But you've got to make sure that the desire's big enough that it's something that they're willing to pay. And if it's not a problem that they care about solving, then 100 is too much, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to find something it solves a big enough problem for the people that you want to serve. And sometimes, I think we have to be realist. We can say, well, that's worth X number of dollars. It is, but if they can't fit it in because they have basic needs that they've got to cover, then it's not going to happen. So start at the amount that you feel like you need to earn. Think about, what kind of problem could I solve for somebody? How could I give them this dream come true result for $250? And do I have the capacity to do 40 of those? Might be a different way to look at it. Because in my world, like, we're doing, this, like the business growth sprint program. Do I think that's a high probability way to get people a result? Yes. Do I think that we have the capacity to go do it for 200 people? Not a chance, because it's like open access to one-on-one calls. So we don't have the capacity to do that many. So there's that kind of balancing act. So you got to make sure you price it relative to what you can actually deliver that'll get the result. And I know it's like putting a puzzle together, but I, as the business owner, start with the amount of money that I would need to make to justify doing it, because otherwise, I mean, there's an opportunity cost. If I'm doing that, I'm not doing something else. So I start with that and then work backwards from there. But, as I'm going through, and we've even created little tools where we'd have, Excel sheets where it'd be like, well, if you do this at this price, how many do you need to hit whatever target? I always start like with the number I need to hit to justify doing it, because it's a lot of legwork. I mean, behind the scenes right now on this business growth sprint thing, we've got, like, the only people I talk about are me, Justin, and Fred on the front end, and there are like 7 people behind the scenes right now putting together the back end of all of things, from Trello to Nomly to you name it, to make sure that we can serve people. And that's not the front facing stuff. So you got to think, like, if you're going to offer a program, it's not just, oh, I'm just showing up one day and doing the work. It's like what goes into doing the work. And sometimes it's a lot, and has to make sense for you. I think that's one of the things lost on a lot of small business owners is we are not the victim of our business. We are the decider, and we get to pick what we want to do. And I think that one of the keys is picking something you want to do that excites you enough that you're willing to get after it and be committed. Because if it's drudgery, don't own a business. Like, do something that allows you to have a little more security, a little more stability, and go find other things for entertainment. Because I think that if you're going to be a business owner, it takes a little bit more, but you get to make more of the rules. Maybe not all the rules, because you're serving an audience that has to agree to those rules. So there's a little bit of balancing there. But if you can't make what you want to make as a business owner, then I think we go back to the drawing board and do a remodel and fix the pricing and fix the program and reintroduce it. All right. Any other questions? And guys, I know I've used this whole business growth sprint thing as an example a few times over. I mean, it's just one example of an offer. It's for us saying, hey, we're going to help people achieve a certain amount of revenue growth in a certain period of time. But there are plenty of other offers. I mean, we've seen people say, achieve very specific weight loss goals, or turn back the clock 10 years and 4 weeks and feel younger, or, achieve performance goals. It's easy for me to use an example of something I'm kind of immersed in myself, but, your offer is basically your promise to your prospect that we're going to help you achieve this dream come true result through an experience you enjoy. Any final questions?
So my question kind of goes off of Morgan's, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about when we have our coaching call tomorrow, but I think I kind of put the puzzle wrong. So my first day of operation is tomorrow, and I pre-sold 40 members at the old price of the gym I was managing. Well, I'm a studio, so now already on my schedule, almost every small group session is already booked full, but they're at a rate that doesn't really support what my business should be. So now I'm kind of in the pickle of, I already have 40 members. Realistically, it could probably take 20 more, but how do I make my numbers work? They have this grandfather rate for 6 months, and then it will convert to something. So should I just be creating it? Oh, go hard. Sorry.
So the first thing you do is kind of the old adage, when you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. So you don't sell anymore at that rate. Like, those are the grandfathered people. So now we sell at the future rate. And from there, we start to build value and create anticipation for the new rate that these people will be potentially joining at or upgrading to. And I mean, 6 months is going to pass, right? Like, so that's fine. Go fill up the other spots when they see that there's some scarcity, that there's only so many spots available, then they're going to be more compelled to do it. But even if a few leave, the ones that are at that other rate, you can backfill and you can say, okay, well, we're taking somebody out that's paying 100 to replace them with somebody paying 200. And so it's just one in, one out until you get to the rate that you want. And hopefully they all see the value in the upgrade. But I mean, it's not like, that's a pretty good problem to have, right? Because you've got a strong foundation to build on. And now we just got to make sure that the offer is compelling enough going forward that it justifies that new price.
Okay. And so do you feel like I should be running any other type of offers that are like low hurdle to get in, or should start moving them to, because I was thinking about doing like a 14-day reset for $100, but it's like, do I have that influx of more people when I'm 40 right now? My gut says take care of the 40 in front of me.
Well, I mean, ultimately, for you to get to where you want to go, you have to get more people in paying the new price. I don't think I would just put all my eggs in the 40 that are there. You may throttle how many new people come in, but introducing them to the higher price. So you may, like, I don't think, hey, I need to go get 100 people paying for a 14-day reset type thing, but you definitely should have a pipeline of new people coming in. So you are getting more people at this new rate, even if it's, if you are worried about capacity or your own capacity, not even just the studio, then, you may have to throttle how many you bring in. And then, so the offer should reflect that. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't wait and say, hey, I'm just going to take care of these guys. Even if it's, I'm going to add one new person a week at a new price, that's still moving in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. All right. Well, guys, we made it all the way to the finish line. Hopefully that was helpful. If it was helpful, leave me some sort of indication of that in the chat, a thumbs up, a high five, a smile. I don't care. Whatever works for you. All right. Very good. Very good. Yeah. So we do these every week, in case you guys didn't know. I mean, we do them in the group and we kind of publicize them in the free Facebook group. Jamie just dropped that in the chat. But yeah, we do these every week. Love to have you hang on. Like I said, this is, in my way of doing it, it's kind of a demonstration thing. Hopefully I can be helpful, and maybe people say, well, hey, I want more help. I want more individualized help, or I want more, more solutions to my unique challenges or problems. And so that's how we approach it. But hopefully you can kind of model some of that for your own business, so you can use that demonstration approach to get clients and build the thing that you want to build. So guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.